Hello and welcome back to Sociology. Today we are looking at the Sociology of Family Dynamics, Chapter 1. So far we've looked at the intro, reviewing of sociological theories, things that you should have already known, but if you don't, that's okay, we're reviewing that. And then we are looking at the linguistic landscape, cultural script, so how we use language to create stories that we tell ourselves and each other to help us explain our world. So today we are going to get into the background and the sociology of the family. So I'm going to remove my face so that you can see the PowerPoint. Remember that PowerPoints are also on the digital media, the digital board that we're using where discussions are and our content. So that's pretty much it. All right, let's get started. Okay, so the sociology of the family. Here we have another picture, the sociology of the family. Interesting, right? So we have the genealogy definition. The genealogy definition is the study of ancestry and family history. So here we are searching for family links and connections, both genetic and symbolic. Family connections can be very important even when the genetic link is small or absent. So when we think about this idea of the genetic link is absent, we're really starting to shift this paradigm of Western ideology of what we come to know as the family. So when we see the family now versus what the sociology of the family, we're looking at how families can be constructed, even if you have no DNA or genetic link to other people. You can still consider them your family. So I have 4 sisters in total. I have 1 biological sister and 3 sisters that aren't biologically connected to me, but they're still my sisters. So defining the family. So we're going to look at examples of complex, contemporary, and defined families. So defining families. So there's not a single definition of the family, but families basically can be defined as groups of related people bound by connections that are biological, legal, or emotional. This is not a single definition of a family, but this is the simplest working definition used by Cohen, or the author of this text. So family connections can be biological or non-biological, formal or informal, and so on. There are many different varieties and types of families and family connections. Not everyone agrees over which biological, legal, and emotional connections create family ties. This usually includes a level of expectation of care or commitment between members, implies a level of caring, and also includes various degrees of power and authority. For example, family members, all right, let's start this again. For example, family members are allowed to use certain degrees of corporal punishment, whereas non-family members cannot. So when we think of this last statement, and this is really contextual to society and time. So we think of this idea of corporal punishment of punishing kids. So this is where the debate of, is spanking okay? Is timeout okay? What is neglect? What is not neglect? What is abuse? What is not abuse? What's punishment? And we really start to walk a fine line that we identify as the parents' rights to grow and develop their child and what means they see fit versus the child's right to be safe and not hurt, right? So we have a different definition of that. So within defining families in the personal family, the author or Cohen used several types of definitions in our text: the personal family, the legal family, and the family as an institutional arena. So each definition is useful for different circumstances. Combined, each type of definition makes up the sociological approach to looking at families, looking at the same phenomenon, the family, from different angles and approaches. The personal family is based on a personal understanding of the concept of related. We talked about that a couple PowerPoint pages ago, but this idea of what does it mean to be related. It also allows for the inclusion of stepchildren, step-parents, informal and formal adoptions, and so on. The definition encompasses the idea of blended families, which we're going to look at in Chapter 10, and changes in personal perception of family. So the personal family again, right? So the definition of personal family is the people to whom we feel related and who we expect to define us as a member of their family as well. How individuals define their own families. General definition, but not exclusive. This type of definition does not exclude certain family types. We recognize family members even before we are able to define them as such. Right? So how do we know someone to be a family? How do we know someone to be part of our family? What level of investment and intimacy needs to go into when we define a family? So the people to whom we feel related to and who we expect to define us as members of their family as well. That's super broad, and it allows for a lot of interpretations, as the idea of family is very individual that we can construct, right? So here are some things that kind of lean to it. I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. So one of my sisters I met when I was 15, and immediately I loved her. And we had a very personal bond that developed over time. There's no agreement on one single definition of the family. Families can vary in size, from large extended compounds to single individuals. Families do not necessarily have to be biological. The label family usually includes expectations of care or commitment. The family forms the basis for formal and informal social obligations. Family relations contain both formal and informal authority. And in this initial definition, it will be separated into 3 types in the author and the text. Again, that is the personal family, the legal, and the institutional family. The personal family, the legal family, and the institutional family. So the personal family, which we've already defined, the legal family, there's no universal legal definitions, but legal implications vary. So it carries with it many rights and responsibilities overseen by the government, and implications for the distribution of resources. So when we think about claiming children on our taxes, right? If the parents are divorced or separated, only one of the parents can claim one of those children per tax year. If we look at legal rights, let's say in the state of Utah, where I used to teach and study, parents who divorce and potentially one of the parents have primary custody of the child. When we look at extended family members like grandparents or aunties and uncles, they don't really have any legal rights to see, visit, or spend time with that child if any one of the parents is like, nah, I'm not feeling it. I don't want you to be around them. Even if that extended family member is concerned for that child's safety, they still really don't have any connection, even if that child has been living with the extended family for multiple years. So, again, the legal family is a group of individuals related by birth, marriage, or adoption. These are legally binding identities formed by our government and reinforced by government laws and sanctions. These are state-imposed legal definition. The state refers to the government at all levels. This definition seems pretty straightforward, but its meaning may be contested. In fact, all the words in the definition can be contested. Most contested word is marriage. Same-sex marriage is an especially controversial contemporary topic. We see that recently in all of our states in the United States, same-sex couples can now adopt, but we are still working on trans rights and families who are not within this very short binary definition of same-sex couples. So the institutional arena is more of a sociological approach to the definition of families. So I want you to think back to Intro to Sociology, or the idea of social institutions. And if you are unfamiliar with this concept, you can always hop onto my YouTube website and check out some of the Intro to Sociology videos. So, this does not provide a concrete definition, but rather suggests a useful framework to identify the ways in which families are defined. The following 4 abstract terms are used in the text to explain the family as an institutional arena. An institutional arena, a family arena, state, and market. So the sociological definition focuses on the family as the place where family matters take place. In this institutional arena, not a physical space with physical boundaries, but rather a social space where interactions occur, rules may be different from one place to another and may be informal. These rules in the arena evolve over time. So much like sociology and society, it is not fixed, and that it moves and shapes and transforms or evolves over time. So defining families within the institutional arena continued. So within this arena, people occupy certain positions: father, child, sister, etc. There are formal and mostly informal rules within their interaction. Those vary between families and individuals. Family rules include obligations and privileges, right? So parents are expected to provide for their children. Children are expected to obey their parents. And there are 3 types of institutional arenas: the family, the state, and the market. So the family arena, that is the institutional arena where people practice intimacy, childbearing and socialization, and caring work. So not everyone fits into family roles exactly as they may be defined. So conformity and nonconformity serve to reinforce the rules of this arena. So when we think about this family arena in a very intimate and invested way, so who's taking care of whom, who's providing for whom, do we have a level of intimacy and partnership between these family members? Please understand that when I say intimacy, I don't just mean sex. So that is a physical intimacy, but there can be many layers of emotional and physical intimacy, from hugging each other to holding hands to emotional intimacy of telling each other secrets or spending time with others. Those are all forms of intimacy. So the social institution of family and the institutional arena, we have the state, which is the institutional arena where through political means behavior is legally regulated, so violence is controlled and resources are redistributed. So we see things like marriage license, divorce, petition. We see the use of violence or threats as abuse or not okay. So this is where the regulation of behaviors happens. Within the institution of family, we have the market. So the state has direct actions with how the family functions. So the institutional arena where labor for pay, economic exchange, and wealth accumulation takes place. So here we have in our table 1.1, which is also in your text, we have the different types of institutional arenas within the family, right? So we have the state, the market, the family, the type of interaction that happens, the organizational units, and the individual roles within these. So make sure that you study these for our exams, and I will see you next time when we start looking at the story behind the numbers, which is market, state, and the family. All right, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon.